Here in the studio audience, getting ready to talk to you about our official Theros Beyond Death preview card. Wizards of the Coast has provided it to us for free out of the kindness of their hearts because they like what we're doing, I hope. We have an awesome card today. We're excited. A bunch of people already in the chat in YouTube and on Twitch. We have giveaways going on. It is the last episode of this year. It is our 249th episode.
Is that true?
Yeah, we have 250.
Wow.
Bringing in 2020, new decade. New us. We have a new set. I have glasses now.
Glasses.
I'm smarter because of it.
It's a good look.
Yeah, thank you. I can see things that are at a distance now.
How much time did you spend, honestly, picking which glasses you wanted? Like,
a long time, but only because I got my prescription in like September. And we went to the Warby Parker in Hollywood.
Okay.
And they were very rude, and it was very intimidating. And so I was like, I'm good. I already don't want to do this. And then when we were Christmas shopping, we went to the Warby Parker in Century City, and which is a mall in Los Angeles, and they were very nice. And so we walked me through it, immediately got it. And so
I like
like
Warby Parker.
Yeah,
I have a pair of Warby Parker
nice.
sunglasses.
I feel like there's a smudge, so I'm gonna unsmudge. This was now I'm Clark or Superman, right?
Yeah.
Superman.
Look at
Clark
you.
Kent. Superman.
You gotta change your
Clark
shirt
Kent.
view, too.
Oh yeah, so I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
I'm a reporter.
Yeah.
And now I'm here to save you now.
Look at how strong you just got. That was crazy.
All right, so we got a bunch of people in the chat. We got things. We're gonna show our preview card officially in a second. Now, but tell me, what do you think? What do you think about this preview card?
Well, I think we are extremely fortunate that over the last few years, we're in that small group that Wizards sends these preview cards to, and I think it's really epic that we have some greatest hits of the past behind us here. You know, we have Fatal Push and Claim Fame, Merfolk Mistbinder, Night of Autumn. That was a big one.
Yep.
Big one.
I'm not gonna reveal it.
You're gonna do it right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now because it's in all the socials. So like people on the internet have already saw it.
Okay, gotcha.
Our official preview card is Field of Ruin.
Whoa, look at that art.
With art from Jung Park. And it's awesome. Look at those chains. I feel like this is going to see Modern play.
Yeah, 100%. I think this card will make an impact in Modern.
It's interesting because it's kind of a card they kind of needed in Standard at least, like 3 months ago when Field of the Dead was kind of wrecking everything.
Legal? Yeah,
was legal and hurting the format. Modern, obviously, this is, I think at this point, cemented itself as, if not, is the best land destruction spell, right? I mean, it's this or Ghost Quarter, and they both do a lot of things. And producer, if you want to click preview card, there you go. People in the chat can now see it.
On the screen, you can see it
look
now.
at that technology. I've been working so hard to upgrade all of this.
You did a good job.
Thank you. Look, we have a set.
Yeah.
There's like a Vulpix up there that no one can see. So I think it's really cool. I'm really excited to see what this does in Standard, because that's obviously the place where it hasn't been seen in Brawl, where like there is a need for some land destruction. There's so many powerful lands out of I'm blanking on the name, Eldraine.
Yeah.
That, having an ability to deal with the different castles that they printed is helpful. Not to mention any looping with the lands that like have the ETB effects.
Well, I think there's also the interesting aspect now of like with Historic and Pioneer and Arena, when cards are printed, they're printed for multiple reasons now. So I definitely think, obviously, because when was Field of Ruin originally printed? Was it like?
It was Ixalan. It was Ixalan.
Oh, so we already had it in Historic. It already existed.
Yes, it is in Historic already.
Oh, so this was like totally this is a wholly unnecessary to the current like Arena landscape printing. It's
Standard.
Purely for Standard.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that's most of what Arena is, right? And getting access to more people, right? This allows more people to get hands on it.
Yeah.
The art's amazing. I like this art so much more than the original card.
I agree.
Like
that in foil seems like it'll be super dope.
Yeah,
right?
and like in general, one of the best things about Theros to me is the aesthetic of the plane. Like the Nyx enchantment matters aesthetic is so cool that like getting it on more cards is
Are you
always a
excited
plus.
that Constellation is back? You and I have talked about this for a long time.
Oh yeah, they literally every mechanic that's returning in this set are the ones I wanted. We don't have to deal with heroic. I don't have to deal with monstrous.
There's like some heroic ish stuff, but it's like there's like I saw a card that's like if you target this happens to the Phalanx Leader effect, but it's not called heroic.
Well, it's how like Tireless Tracker has landfall, right?
Yeah,
You can bring mechanics back as long as you like word it out, and most mechanics can do that. There's like weird ones like flashback that you have to have like the rule, and then. Speaking of flashback, like the new mechanic, escape, is like right up my alley.
Really
it's just
good.
it's just flashback with delve. It's delve back.
delve back. I do think it's a little strange, and we'll talk about this when we do our set review, but I do think it's a little strange that what's it called? Not Recover. You just said it. You literally just said it. Escape.
Escape.
I do think it's a little strange that Escape
It's like the
references
reverse of a heist.
It references a different number on every card. So but it doesn't say like Escape 3, it just says Escape, and then it's like remove 3 cards. Escape, remove 4 cards.
Well, it's the cost. It's the number with the cost. So if it's Escape 6, so for instance, Elsbeth is Escape 4 white, I believe, and it's 4 cards you have to exile. So it's whatever the colorless number is.
I don't think. It references the colorless number on the card? No, that's not true. I'm telling you, I was looking this morning at him, and I was surprised by it.
Well, Twitch or chat, let us know.
I don't think it denotes on the card face. I think it just says Escape, and then it determines in the description of that Escape, which is fine. It's just that from a new player perspective, it would strike me as more helpful if it was somewhat consistent.
Sure, I believe that it is attached to the cost of the Escape cost.
Okay.
And hopefully the chat is going to tell us and let us know. I'm going to throw in some Soup Baby emotes into the chat.
Look at you. You're so modern now.
I know. Maybe a modern master.
Yeah, look at you. So guys, a couple quick shout outs. We're going to keep talking about this. And today then on the show, we have a ton of cool stuff coming up. We have giveaways because it's the holiday time and we're feeling festive, which is awesome. And then on top of that, we have lists. We are going to be doing the best card of every single year of the decade. Alex and I have come up with an exhaustive list, and we've decided on the single best card of each year of the decade, as well as each of our favorite card from each year of the decade. So we'll be sharing those for fun and then talking about what we think was the single definitive card of each year. That will be today's episode. So if you guys want to follow along with what we're doing, be sure to follow on Twitter. We have a Twitter. It's at the MMcast.
Yep, I'm at Caswalia, and everywhere you can kind of see that below. There's like a lot of good Twitter explanation where you can find us. Also, I've been Twitch streaming a lot recently, so you can find me at twitch.tv/Kesko. That's where you can get the Soup Baby emoji if you are a subscriber. And you can also find Ben
at Ben
eventually
Media
streaming
on Twitter and Instagram. Also, though, I know I've said it for a long time that I was going to start streaming, and I had done some of those streams from home on our channel. I did actually download the software and attempt to stream Arena on my computer. I just have an older PC, so it's a little slow, and I couldn't get it to work. But I did an unlisted stream from our page, and I watched it on I was watching it back on my phone. It's like, that's me playing Magic on my computer in my living room. Lag. Oh, there I am again.
Baby step. Well, it is. There's a lag, right? There's always a delay between when you go live and what.
No, it froze Arena. It was very bad. But my point is, Ben Bateman Streaming is the name of my Twitch channel, and you guys can go follow Ben Bateman Streaming because that's happening probably this week.
Yep. And last but not least, if you are watching now, make sure to follow. Obviously, we can't subscribe yet on the MMcasting because it's not affiliated, but definitely follow. If you're on YouTube right now, make sure to hit the like button. That's kind of the big thing nowadays. If you hit a like, it makes this video just do that much better, and we always appreciate it. Also, just kind of comment, subscribe, all of those good things. So yeah, I think I'm really excited about this next year. I'm excited about the next decade, 2020. We're in the future, but today we're going to be doing a little bit of a look back at the best card from every year and our favorite cards from every year.
It's been a crazy 10 years. I think the best place to start with that is just kind of to say, Modern started a little less than 10 years ago. Modern started about 9 years ago. I think it was 2011 that it came out. And so we've been at this thing for almost a decade. You and I have done this podcast for almost half that time. We started this podcast together in, I want to say, was it April? It was 2014, I think.
No, we started it in September. The podcast got started in September, and you joined in November.
Yes.
Or October.
Okay, it was September of 2014.
Yeah, our first episode was, our second episode was a review of Cons Block.
Yeah, and so I came on the podcast probably around Fate Reforged, I would think.
No, it was that fall still. It was all within that fall period. Glenn did 6 episodes, and then you were on the 6th or the 5th, and then came back for the 7th officially as the person who's on this podcast.
And so almost 250 episodes ago, we have the YouTube channel now, obviously, and so we've been doing this now. The fun part about what we're about to do with the best card of every year is that we're going to actually remember being on this podcast and talking about half these cards the year they were released. Seeing them as they were previewed, playing with them for the first time, reacting to them. And then the other half are the ones that, when we started, one of the most iconic cards ever, and it's in the discussion for the very first year. We'll get there when we get there, we had a big discussion about Jace the Mind Sculptor, one of the oldest, most OG powerful cards ever printed. You know, Jace was printed back in 2010. It's a different story today, looking back at Jace the Mind Sculptor, than it was 5 years ago when we started this show.
Oh, sure.
You
Well, I
know,
mean,
like-
A, he's legal in formats, but B, like, we've talked about multiple times, this last year, arguably he is less powerful than multiple Planeswalkers printed since May.
So it's a fascinating exercise to look back at this, because you have to kind of shape your opinion of how impactful was it then, but also how good is it still now, and how does that fit into the puzzle of sort of Magic's power level. So we're going to get into that. I think we're probably going to count backwards, because I'd like to end with 2010, because it's a fascinating year. So let's start with this year. Let's jump in with this year.
Sure.
What's your favorite card of 2019?
Bringing up the list on my phone. That's not the way to do it. It's over here. It's on I have a list of just top 10 things.
Yeah.
It's in there. I'm going to say Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. The 3-mana.
Oh, yeah, uncommon.
Yeah, no, the rare.
rare?
The rare. The 3-mana 1 rare, plus, or it has a +0, put a +1/+1.
On your
or
red
put a loyalty
planeswalkers.
counter on every Planeswalker. -2 of, or a +0 of making 2/1/1s that have haste, then they go away, and then a -2 of
Flashback, right?
flashback, or you're able to cast a card from your
Is
graveyard. It's
extraordinarily
really sweet.
good.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's like very good. It's probably one of the coolest Planeswalkers printed, because it's not overpowered, but it's exactly
totally
what
fair,
you
yeah.
want to be doing, sort of. The fact that it costs 3 is so essential. I mean, that's such an important piece of the card. It's like not as good as Snapcaster Mage, but it has so much more functionality than Snapcaster Mage that
Right.
makes it like a very exciting red version of that. I love that card.
Yep. I think it's really cool. I like. It does a lot of things I love. It casts instants and sorcery spells out of your graveyard. It like creates 1/1s that can be used for sacrificing activations, not just being aggressive and attacking.
Yeah.
And it has like a cool Planeswalker tribal effect. I have a Highlander deck built with her. I have a Brawl deck built with her. I have a Oathbreaker deck with her as the commander.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
I have a commander deck where she's the commander. I have played her in every format. So
Yeah,
standard, been playing her all day long, and even in modern.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that card. So my 2019 favorite card was pretty hard to come up with. I thought that this was probably the hardest year for me. The thing is that Modern Masters or Horizons had so many cards I liked.
Sure.
But they were all so powerful so quickly in so many formats, it was hard to decide, like, is this just a favorite card forever, or is this actually a favorite card? Is this actually a favorite card forever, or is this just like a right now, everybody's talking about it, you know? So like when Urza was printed, that card is just me to the T. Like
Right,
that card is exactly what I want to be doing.
We've established like favorite cards from the beginning of the podcast, and
Grand Architect.
Grand Architect has always been on that list.
Yeah, and Urza is just the big brother. It's just that's
Yeah.
way better.
Yeah.
I thought about Urza, and I was like, but you know, the thing is, as much as I like that card, it does cost 4. It does cost 4, and it makes it less appealing for me when I think about wanting to play it in like lots of different formats and build around it.
Sure.
It doesn't feel like what I like to do as much. So what I came up with was Ren and 6 is my favorite card of the year. I've played Ren and 6 a lot now.
Okay.
And I just love being able to get back a fetch land with
Sure.
Ren and 6.
Sure.
I love being able to lock people out in Highlander with Strip Mine with Ren and 6. And I love the fact that it does my stupid Flame Jab deck. It's exactly what I want to be doing.
Right.
It's just that. So, I think Ren and 6 is my favorite card of the year. Now we should talk about the best card of the year.
Yeah. So I think this one's pretty easy, and I think most people agree. It is a contentious year, right? Like, Once Upon a Time exists and is not the best card of the year. Like Narset and 3-mana Teferi are not on this list. 4-mana Karn is not on this list.
Some of the ones I texted you.
Hogak isn't on this list, or isn't the best card.
I sent you a list of considerations. We've got Oko. We've got Once Upon a Time, 3-mana Teferi. We have Narset, 3-mana. Karn, Field of the Dead, Urza, Ren and 6, Arcum's Astrolabe, Force of Negation, Hogak. I mean,
Right.
This is one of the most bonkers years ever in the history of Magic.
I think there's a poll right now somewhere, and I'll find it, of like which year ends up being the most like broken, and it was like this year, 2010, which we'll get to at
They
the end of the
bookended,
episode,
right?
and the year of Scars of Mirrodin, or regular Mirrodin, which was 2013, and then the last one was Urza Saga in 1998, and like those are like the 4 years that standard Magic kind of like got broke in some ways.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like it's hard to pick what the best card is. I think like You talked about Jace. We talked about, this year the most powerful. This is the year of Planeswalkers,
Yep.
and at the same time, the most powerful Planeswalker ever was printed, and is slowly being banned out of every format it's legal in. It's like trickling down. Hopefully, one day it gets banned in Modern. And I think that is our choice for the number one card. It's Oko. Yeah.
I bought myself an Oko over the weekend, which was silly because I think it's just going to immediately lose money because I'm just pretty sure it's going to be banned everywhere.
Sure.
But I bought the extended art one.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's like the borderless.
Those are the ones that'll always I don't think it's going to be banned in, for instance, Commander, unless Planeswalker Commanders become legal, right? I don't think it's going to be banned in Legacy anytime soon.
Okay.
And maybe it gets banned in Modern, but the one that's going to be worth money is the full art one, right? That's the one that I think is a safe buy.
It's a very cool looking card. So I think we're both in agreement that Oko is the best card of the year. I mean, it's a weird year to just definitively say that, and I definitely think in 5 years looking back, we will have a different opinion of this year than we have right now.
Sure.
Because there's so much power, it's just really hard to establish.
Right.
So guys, we're going to do the first 5 of these, and then at the halfway point at 5, we're going to give away one of these secret layers right here. We've got 3 of them. We are doing 3 giveaways today on the show. Mm-hmm. They are for the holiday season to thank you guys for being with us for 250 shows.
Well, and the way it's going to work is this is the launch of the giveaway. Over the next week, by next week, you have the chance to, if you follow us on any of our Twitch streams, so Kess, Ben, or...
and one more time, that's Ben Bateman streaming.
Kesco. And the MMcast.
And the MMcast.
So if you're a follower on any of those 3 things, you get a bump. You get a chance to win if you are a Twitter follower on any of our 3 Twitter accounts. And you get a chance to win if you are a subscriber on our YouTube channel.
And leave a comment on this video. That's the single most important thing you can do, is if you're watching this one, we're going to announce it on the next show too. But leave a comment because, we're going to be looking through and matching up names and trying to aggregate all the data. But having a comment where we can see your name, it's going to bump you up a little bit.
Yeah. So, and if you're any of those things, make sure to keep your follow or your ability to be messaged available and open. We'll announce it next week on the episode, so pay attention there, and then tweet at us.
Yeah, because earlier this year we did the Gaggle of Gideons giveaway. We gave one of every single Gideon away to one person. It was the same kind of a deal. So we're going to be giving these secret layers away. We have 3 of them. So, all right, guys, we're going to get into the next year, which is 2018.
Yep.
So what's your favorite card?
Mine's pretty. This was a lot easier, I think. Obviously, there was cool stuff that came out. Dominaria was last year.
Yeah.
We're going to decline that phone call. It was such a defining card of last year.
We have the same favorite card, right?
Is it Arclight Phoenix?
Yeah.
I had that epic, just drunk in, bought 100 of them while in Dallas because I was like, "You're all wrong, internet. This card's amazing," and then it ended up being amazing. Yeah.
I didn't make as much money as you on it, but I definitely, I bought 12 and I played it and I day 2 to GP with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that card that's my favorite card too. I'll give you the bump of it being a little bit more of the shot caller on this one because you definitely saw it. But we've had a pretty good track record on our show of shot calls, definitely calling out cards that we knew were going to be good that the world was missing.
Sure.
The one that I'm actually the most surprised that still hasn't totally blown up is Dreadhorde Arcanist. It's still just good.
Sure.
It's not insane. I thought it was the best card in the set. We were right about Terramander though. That was my number 1 card from that set. That card's been pretty bonkers.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting. I think Dreadhorde Arcanist has seen play, right? That's kind of the big goal there, where with red 2-drops, often people are like, "Oh, it's going to be insane," and then just they don't see play. So the fact that it's actively a card people are playing with is important.
Didn't I call Curious Obsession? I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure it was my second favorite card of that set.
I don't know what that card is.
That's the Curiosity +1/+1 that was in.
Oh yeah. You were obsessed with it and
won a Pro Tour
or Mythic Championship.
Yeah.
Yes, you did call that, and I talked
so much crap about it. Yeah. You didn't like it.
So Phoenix is the favorite card of this year. What would you say?
The best card?
The best card.
Well, so we'll go over some of the options.
Okay.
I spent all day doing this yesterday at one of my other jobs, just scouring through every single card of every year, texting Alex a laundry list. He was doing some sort of gaming party with people. I was getting no responses.
My family's in town. I was hosting family things.
I literally sent Alex, I think, 29 texts that were unanswered until the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was so curious what he thought. But so the options that I came up with for 2018: Stitcher Supplier, Spellseeker, Arclight Phoenix, Teferi, Hero Dominaria, Nexus of Fate, Assassin's Trophy. For me, even though it's weird because of what happened in 2019, I still think it's Teferi Hero Dominaria. I think it's 5-mana Teferi.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like, that's like, there's a lot of really powerful things. I think we were between Arclight Phoenix and Teferi, but I agree. The fact that a 5-mana Planeswalker started seeing play in Eternal formats is like a big deal. It was definitively the defining card of Standard in many ways. I think I want to agree. I agree with that.
It's super on the fence because what you can say is that thinking about the power level of all the cards we just mentioned, you can make arguments for each of them. I think, especially like for instance, Stitcher Supplier is a really, really underrated card on this list because what you're getting out of that card and the archetypes that it's good is super unique and really, really powerful.
Right.
But I think, and then Nexus of Fate obviously being a sort of a riff on that style of card, being such an effective card that has such unique play value, all the bannings of that card, But I think the bottom line is that Planeswalkers are like one of the most definitive pieces of Magic, and for a year, this was the Planeswalker. And I think, where does it rank on the 5-mana Planeswalker list? How good is it the best 5-mana Planeswalker
I think it's in the
ever?
top 10. Is it the best 5-mana? Yeah, I think you could probably argue it's the best 5-mana Planeswalker ever. I mean,
That's big.
in contention is like Gideon.
It's definitely better than Gideon. It's definitely better. Gideon's a good card.
No, I'm just trying to think if there's another 5-mana Planeswalker that's even like...
Tezzeret, 5-mana?
Yeah.
Seeker, probably.
Yeah.
That's
it's
right
like
up there.
I think like if Faithless Looting had been banned, or if they hadn't banned Faithless Looting even, and Arclight Phoenix was still good with the Faithless Looting being banned, being banned in Modern, or if the deck hadn't had a card banned out from it and we didn't know if it was Faithless Looting in Phoenix, I think it would be Phoenix, right? Like, I think that was the card that defined a lot of that year. But because in Modern, Faithless Looting got banned, and then Arclight Phoenix kind of died as a deck, it kind of really pointed towards that maybe Phoenix wasn't the piece of power in that. And like, even the fact that it's not really a powerhouse right now in Standard and it's legal, leads me to believe that 5-mana Teferi, which still sees play even with 3-mana Teferi around, and Jace in a format. Like, there's a point where we were talking about is it better than Jace?
I mean, I think I at one point almost said that it was. I might have even said it on
the
show.
You did say it was on the show. I don't know if it's true, but I think that like the fact that it's in the contention makes it that spot for me.
I think what I would say is that if we expect long-term, 5-mana Teferi will only get worse because we have all these Planeswalkers that are cheaper, and it's obviously an archetype that they like to print cards into. I don't think that Arclight Phoenix is going to get worse over time because I think what they've done with it, pushing the ability, all that's required is some other card that functions a little bit like Faithless Looting, and then it just gets really good again.
Right.
I think that's an easy thing to happen because, like, multiple spells that dump things into graveyards. It's already a Pioneer deck. Like, it's already still a Modern deck. It's just not that good of a Modern deck.
Right.
So I definitely think that card will survive. Let's get into 2017. Best card of the year. I think this is.
Well, we're going to do favorites, right? First, that's the rule.
Yes.
So
I have a weird one.
The best card of 2017 is very obviously Kess Dissident Mage, or Dissident Mage.
Dissident Mage. Look at you saying it right.
Juggles.
2017 was a pretty weak year in terms of the options. No, I mean, it's a great card, don't get me wrong. But there was less options that were relevant that I was texting you on this year that I came up with. My favorite card of this year is a weird one. I've only cast this card twice, but the first time I cast it, I was like, why have I not been playing this for so much longer?
Sure.
It's Teferi's Protection.
It's really good.
That card is nuts.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that, like, it's currently, I think, one of the most requested cards on the, like, reprint please for Commander list because it's so expensive.
It's like $50 or something. It's crazy. I was trying to come up with cards to just play in, like, a generally good Esper Control 100-card deck. And I kept, I like things that draw cards. So, I mean, I play all the Shadow of Doubts and all the crappy, like...
Sure.
And I, like, came across this card, and I was like, wait. It's basically, like, a white counterspell, but, like, way, way, way more interesting than a white counterspell. And also, like, can't you, like, Teferi's Protection with mana up and then, like, Armageddon and just...
Yes, that's the thing you can do.
That's
like, I mean, you need 7 mana to do that, but yes, that is an available option.
It's, like, so good. It's such a good card for so many reasons. It fogs, it counterspells, it's a bonkers good card.
Right.
I'm a big fan. What's your favorite card there?
I said it.
Oh, Kess, Distant Mage. Okay.
My card. I got a preview card with my name on it.
Yeah. We've previewed it twice.
It's Snapcaster Mage all the time.
So there was a couple options here for this one. I did write down Teferi's Protection as an option just because it's really good. This was another one of the cards printed in 2017. This was an option. We wrote this down as a maybe, though I don't think it's good enough to be the best card of the year.
Yeah.
But it was on the list. Whir of Invention was on the list as a possible from that year.
Find some stuff, puts it into play.
Yeah, but I think the clear winner was also behind me. Fatal Push.
Yeah.
I think Fatal Push is pretty obviously the best card of 2017.
Yeah, I think it has its. It redefined Modern, right? Like, it basically killed Infect by itself. Like, people kind of blame Gitaxian Probe being banned that same year. Like, kind of, Gitaxian Probe got banned that January, and then Fatal Push was printed immediately afterwards.
Right.
But there's a lot more of a direction kind of pointing at Fatal Push being the main reason. The fact also that it kind of negated Spellskite as a card in the format as well.
Yeah.
Famously. And, no longer your favorite card because of it.
I love
no longer the patron saint of the podcast. But, I think it's just like, it's one of the best removal spells ever printed. It finally gave Black a 1-mana removal spell to really claim that it's the king of killing creatures. For a long time, it was always funny because Black is supposed to be the best at killing creatures, but White and Red both had significantly more efficient ways of doing so. And Fatal Push finally gave Black its version of that card.
We've talked about it on here a bunch of times, but I mean, we had Fatal Push for maybe 2 weeks before we previewed it, I think, something like that. We usually get our card like a couple weeks early.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. We knew it was going to be good, but I don't think we knew that it was going to be like the defining. I don't think we definitely didn't look at each other and go, this is the best card printed this year for sure. This is we're gonna look back on this card in a few years and realize that this was the single best card of all 8 expansions, including premium product and everything that got printed this year. This was the best new card, period. I think it clearly is.
Yeah, and I think. I mean, I just simply remember sending you a picture being like, "Oh man, this is sweet," and you not like totally realizing
me being like, "Oh yeah, this is."
That
I was
it was
like,
a
"Oh,
preview
that's
card,"
good, yeah.
and like almost posting. It's like, no, wait.
Yeah, totally.
So glad we dodged that bullet. All right, so 2016,
2016. My favorite card from this year, another card that I think people will be surprised to know, but it's Brea, Ethereum Shaper.
Okay.
I love Brea.
Yeah.
That card is so good.
It was really like the fact that you had to pick one made it a little bit easier because to not pick like some of the commanders from that set. Because I think one of my favorite commander mechanics ever printed is Partner, and that's the year that Partner came out. You have all the Partner mechanics. You can't pick one of those. You have to. That's not how this game works.
There's like the white red equipment 2-drop. There's like the black red 2/3 goblin that burns for your first spell each turn.
Vial Smasher. Yeah.
There's Thrasios.
Yep. One of the most powerful commanders of all time.
Thrasios is so good.
My personal favorite is probably Silas Wren.
That's the black blue artifact one.
Yeah.
Card's so good too.
So there's like a lot of really cool effects from that. It's a really cool mechanic. It's very creative. Like one of the things I love about Magic is figuring out cool ways to make things combine. And that's what Partner is as a commander mechanic. So I think that's really cool.
Do you think that was the best year for commander sets? Do you think that was the single best one?
No, I was printed in a set. That's the one. The one with me in it is the one.
Was that as? But I mean, I realized that you love that card. We have
one moment, Nate. Sarah, someone needs you at the door. But you're good. I think you're handling everything. Sorry, everyone on the video. Yeah. So my.
That's the next year.
That's the next year. Yeah, we just talked about it. But my favorite card from that year is probably Nahiri.
Yeah.
The red-white planeswalker from Shadows over Innistrad. Yeah, the 4-mana, the one that saw Modern play. The one that isn't a commander product.
The T Swift one?
The Taylor Swift one, where she's just walking away from explosions. I don't know. I think that that card does a lot that I love. I currently have a commander deck built around her. I have a modern deck built around her. The fact that she kind of sneak attacks in Emrakul's if she wants. The story around it is so good because she both her ultimate acts like a Stoneforge Mystic, putting an equipment into play.
Yep.
You can literally put Batterskull into play. But also is the story of her bringing Emrakul to the plane of Innistrad. Obviously giving red-white the ability to do the looting ability, I think is really cool, and just a different space for red-white the plane that it doesn't get to normally. And obviously the removal spell aspect of it's really good as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things about her that I like so much is that she's a super impactful planeswalker when she comes down.
Right.
She very often, but because she has high enough loyalty to begin with, you get pretty good value, and also if you plus her, she's pretty hard to deal with.
Right.
There's an inevitability factor with that card that I've always found when I play it, that your opponent doesn't usually want to like blindly swing into it because of her minus. So you just sort of sit there, and unless they have the correct answer, you probably will get to ultimate the card. It did see Modern play in those red-white prison decks. It definitely saw like play in like the Through the Breach style decks. That was the thing.
Right.
At one point. So the best card of the year, though, this was a pretty hard one to come up with. I definitely thought about some of the commanders, because I believe the same set that has Brea also has Atraxa.
Okay.
And those, in terms of pure power, both of those cards are absolutely effed up. They're
Right.
Like Brea, like from what I understand, for a long time, Brea was a tier 1 commander. Is that correct?
I think she still. I think she still is. Yeah,
she does. She does so much. But I think when you think about it, like for multiple formats, for it making an impact all over the place, let me see what I texted you from this year. 2016, the options that I texted you were the enemy Fast Lance, which I do think were pretty impactful. I mean, I do think. Have I lost you? What's going on here?
Sorry, no, there's just someone chatting things that I don't need in my chat, so I banned him.
Gotcha. I do think that there's an argument for a lot of the cards I texted you, because 2016, I texted you enemy Fast Lance. Those were very impactful. People are not like acknowledging or thinking about that year getting the blue-red, the white-red, the blue-green Fast Lands.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal. You're not paying life. The other Fast Lands have been a big deal for a long time. So the enemy Fast Lands, Bedlam Reveler, Brea, Collective Brutality, that was really high on my list.
Sure, yeah.
Liliana the Last Hope, which is, my argument in the end was just, it's just so much not as good as like other Planeswalkers.
She's obviously really good in Pioneer and like is a feature of that format, but the fact that she is just worse most of the time than Liliana the Veil makes it hard for me to be like, that's the best one. Yeah.
Tireless Tracker, which is recently sort of shooting up. Tireless Tracker, Smuggler's Copter, which almost is just the winner. It's just that it never has really made a modern impact, so it's hard to, like, it doesn't go into the Eternal formats. It's just really good in, like...
Well, it's weird, because, like, in Pioneer and in Standard, it was too good.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, that's the line. As soon as you leave Pioneer and go to formats that have good removal spells, like, it's not played in Commander, it's not played in Legacy, It's not played in Vintage, and it has never seen play in Modern. So that's, I think, where kind of it fell off for me, where when we're talking about the best card of that year printed in Magic, defining card, but I think the card that we're going to mention has seen more play in Eternal formats.
I think the card in the end that we chose to go with here was Leovold, Emissary of Trust. It was... It's funny because it's banned in Commander.
Yep,
and
Commander.
It was never legal in Modern. It's not legal in Pioneer, and it was never legal in Standard. So really, the only formats you play it in are the most powerful formats, Vintage and Legacy. And it's just really good. It reacts to every single targeting of any permanent. So if you wish it import my land, I draw a card. It's just a really hard card to interact with. You have to have clean, simple removal right off the bat. It's blue, so you can pitch it to Force of Will. It's just a good card.
Yeah. I think like this is going to be one of the few cards I think that is our number one card, partially due to like being a card that is banned within the same year it comes out in Commander is a significant position to take, right? Like that is a very high-powered format, and this card broke it. And it broke it partially due to unfun reasons, right? Like this was an unfun deck to play against and was resilient enough that it was very hard to really fight against it. But then you had the fact that it was also a defining feature of Legacy and is a defining feature of Legacy. The fact that it sees play in Vintage, not to mention every Highlander alternative format that's out there, makes it definitely a card that I think was the most powerful card printed this year. Was it a mistake to print it? Maybe, but it definitely was.
It doesn't feel like
powerful.
as much of a mistake as Oko. It doesn't. It's easier to interact with than Oko. Like I think.
And part of that is it wasn't printed in the Standard, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact if Leovold was printed in the Standard and was the best card in Standard for a year, we would be a much less happy person with that card.
Yeah. That's why this card's a little more under the radar, because I think a lot of people have never had any experience with this card. I've had very little experience playing with this card. I just know of this card and have seen it and have heard about it. Like I know about it well enough. All right, so we're going to do one more here, guys, and then we're going to do a giveaway. Or are we doing a giveaway? No, we're not
doing giveaways now. We're doing giveaways next week.
I am mistaken.
This is you get to know about the giveaway.
We'll do another call to action.
Yeah.
All right, so 2015. My favorite card from 2015 is a card that I've talked about on the show a lot. And it's actually sort of hilarious that I have my favorite card and the best card. because my favorite card was in the end kind of invalidated by the best card.
Sure.
My favorite card from this year is Collected Company.
Collected Company. Okay, yeah, it's a really good card. I mean, what's sad about this year is this year that Birthing Pod was banned, right? So, like, Birthing Pod got banned at the beginning of the year, but luckily 3 months later, you get Collected Company printed, kind of replacing Birthing Pod as the premier how to get value with junk decks, with black, green, white combo decks that were very powerful with Birthing Pod. They like lost their main piece of finding things, and Collected Company gave them more of like a value engine version of the deck. And they were very defining for years. In the last 2 years, they've definitely followed kind of behind and fallen out of favor. It's one of the reasons I've been pretty vocal now that Stoneforge Mystic is banned. I think my next like unbanned, my next big unbanned target I think is Birthing Pod.
I still don't love the idea of it, but I understand it. It just feels like it's going to be. It just turns. It just makes creature decks feel like Urza decks. I think is all that's going to happen. You're just going to have a very, very sort of similar inevitability mid-range.
Sure, but like that, like how good is at best 3-mana sorcery thing that does nothing for a turn and you did nothing that turn you played it, or a 4-mana you find a creature on that turn. I mean, obviously it's good, like it's good enough to ban, but I think Modern's power level is so much farther down, especially if they don't ban Oko. Like that card is bad. And that card wasn't legal with Call Against Command in play. It wasn't legal with Assassin's Trophy as a legal card in the format.
True. Yeah.
Like the amount of efficient artifact removal, Abrade is a card that exists.
Ingress Rampage now.
Sure, yeah. So like the fact that there's now a significantly larger amount of answers available makes me feel like
maybe safer.
It's safer to unban. But with that said, Coco was kind of the main replacement for it, and just has kind of fallen by the wayside as of recently.
Yeah, I love Collected Company. I played a lot of Superior Burning Coco. 2015 was the first full year we did this show together, so we spent a lot of time that year talking about the Modern format and a lot of these cards. I mean, the sets that we were dealing with that year were, Fate Reforged and Dragons of Tarkir, and so the cards that were. Did you say your favorite?
No.
Oh, what is your favorite?
You didn't let me go. Mine was Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
Okay, so Vryn's Prodigy is an amazing card. It was a heavy consideration for me. In the end, I felt like I got so much more out of Collected Company.
Sure.
I played it a lot in a lot of formats.
And I played Jace a lot, and same, right? Like that's, and apparently snapcasting things from the graveyard is a part of my brand now. So, but just like, famously, that was the review episode we did for Magic Origins. You weren't there. It was with the professor, and we both spent like 20 minutes talking about how good could a Merfolk looter be.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, we did a cube draft at the Command Zone where Craig Blanchett has a multiplayer cube.
Yeah.
And we literally the most powerful permanent at the table the entire time, and this is with eternal staples, powerful effects, was Jason's Prodigy, and I was like, oh, that card is bonkers and is going to be really good. And then it defined standard, it defined everything else, but it kind of fell by, like it was never powerful enough for Modern, right? Snapcaster Mage kind of just a slightly better version.
It had 3 or 4 months where it was a thing and people played it a lot, and then the world kind of moved on. But it was one of the considerations, so I wrote down Collected Company. I wrote down Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I wrote down Ugin because that card's really good.
Sure, yeah.
I wrote down both Tasigur and Gurmag Angler.
Yeah.
And then finally...
Funny enough that Gurmag Angler of those two things ends up being the more powerful
Tasigur.
Effect.
I know.
Like the fact just that one extra... The fact that it's just a bigger dude gives it that much strength. Is it the best fish in Magic?
Angler?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of good merfolk.
But that's not a fish. They're merfolk. Like creature-type fish. I'm not
like an actual fish.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And the last card, and we talked about it a little bit already, is Kolaghan's Command.
Yes.
I think it is clearly the best card of the year, which is really weird because none of the abilities that you get out of a Kolaghan's Command are actually that impactful. They're all pretty marginal. Like a Raise Dead, a Shock, a discard card, or a Shatter. They're kind
of all 1 mana effects on a 3-mana card, right? Like destroy target artifact for 1 mana is a card. Destroy target player discards a card of their choice for 1 black. I think exists.
Not an instance. It does at instant speed. It's like it's a charm.
Yeah. It's not instant speed. I think normally it's attached with better things, right? It's like not good enough to be just a card by itself. Shock obviously is a card that exists, and the fourth and Raise Dead is literally 1 black mana. Like that's a card that's out there. So it's all 1 mana abilities on this 3 mana card, but the fact that you get to do both makes them instant speed, and like kind of has 5 abilities because like 2 damage to any target is like 6 abilities in one.
Well, here's the weird thing. So you guys, some of you who are watching this or listening to this probably remember that way back in the day, we had a cycle of charms, the original charms that went along with the original Invasion Elder Dragons. And so you have all the allied color, so the Jund color, Esper color, they're all from that set, right? And there was a charm for each one. Those charm designs were so much simpler because they were literally stapling together cards.
Sure.
So Dariga's charm, which is red, green, black, is Lightning Bolt, Giant Growth, Raise Dead.
Sure.
That's what it is. It costs 1 of each color, and it's choose one, and you just do...
Right.
It's a 3-mana thing that has 3 abilities, very similar to Kolaghan's Command.
And like Jund Charm did the same. Like they did it in Shards of Alara block. They did it in cons. Like earlier this year, they did for the cons the 3 the same kind of deal.
So what the thing that they had to do to push it is you had to get 2 of them. It's easier to cast, and you get 2 of them. But I mean, obviously, you're not getting Lightning Bolt; you're getting Shock.
Right.
So it's a little worse, but it's better because you get 2 of them.
And just the versatility of it, right? Being able to kill a thing and then get your Snapcaster Mage back, so that you can then do the Kolaghan's Command again on the next turn. Being able to get like the fact that it's been this defining feature in Grixis decks since its printing. The fact that it's been a defining feature of Jund decks, being able to get kind of Death Shadows back and Tarmogoyfs back and Snapcaster Mages back. Is just kind of one of the reasons this card has been so important. The other thing is just it's such a versatile answer to things, right? In Modern, because the turns are so important on 1 and 2, 2 damage is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as good as Lightning Bolt, and if you could play Lightning Bolt over a Shock, you would, which everyone does. But the fact that you get it with another effect, and that effect maybe lets you rebuy Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah.
Lets you... worst case scenario, your opponent has to discard a card at instant speed, which always has very powerful implications, thank you. Makes this card just like super versatile, and killing artifacts as a freebie is so important in Modern. Like that's just such a free addition to things. We talked about how there's cards like Stoneforge Mystic is not good, or not good, but like is medium in Modern because Kolaghan's Command exists.
Yeah,
Everything Pod I think would be medium because Kolaghan's Command
Killing
exists.
a threat and also taking out like their Ensnaring Bridge or something like that, it can be such an impactful thing to do.
Right.
I mean, just like, destroy your Ensnaring Bridge, you discard a card. Like, so much advantage against the decks that are relying on something like that.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, pretty clearly the best. So that's the first half, guys. We would love to know your thoughts. Leave them below in the comments. Just a quick call to action. We are doing these special giveaways here on these secret lairs. It's the holiday season. We're gonna be giving these away. To be entered in to win a secret lair, what you got to do is you go follow our things. So we have Twitch accounts. We have Ben Bateman streaming. We have the MMcast, and we have Kesco.
Yep.
Wait, yours is Kesco.
I'm Kesco.
You're Kesco, the MMcast. So follow those 3 Twitch. Leave a comment and subscribe here on YouTube, and then follow us on Twitter.
Yep.
At Ben Bateman Media, Kes Wiley at the MMcast. If you do all of those things, you will be entered in to win. We gave away every Gideon earlier this year. We're going to do something similar like that. Just look through and give the stuff away, so be sure we can contact you.
And each of those things is a submission, right? Like, we're going to take all the lists from all those things, put it on one big sheet, and then just, like, randomly hit go for it. And so if you're doing all of those things, you get 5 submissions to win, versus if you're just doing one of those things, then you don't get as much of a chance.
It's actually probably an important thing for us to talk about, just because I know when we're going to talk about this more next week as we get into the 250th episode and the big launch of the new year. But Alex and I, obviously, as you can see from behind us, and the fact that we have a YouTube channel and all the new things we're doing, streaming, we're expecting to have a big year this next year. We want to do a lot of new things. We want to do exciting things. And one of the things we're going to be doing this year, we want to increase our social media presence. And to do that, we're going to be employing giveaways. We're going to be giving away a bunch of stuff throughout the year to encourage people to interact, to leave comments, to subscribe, all those things. People that we already interact with, we just want to kind of interact with you guys more consistently. So we are going to be giving stuff away all year. So if you're watching or listening, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert button so you know when we go live, so you know when we put new videos up, and it's going to be your ticket to be involved in more and more giveaways, all kinds of cool things.
You can get OMG kitties.
Yeah, these things are so cool.
Or explosion sounds. Can you give me an explosion sound? Can you also now meow? Can you come up with a weird thing for kaleidoscope killers?
Nah, that's too grim. Not doing that one. So yeah, that's the first half. Let's get into the second half of the list. This is the year that the podcast started, 2014. I joined late in the year, as we mentioned. So 2014, my favorite card of the year. This is the favorite of mine. This is like one of my favorite cards I own. And this is the year of Conspiracy 1. my favorite card, Dak Faden.
Yeah.
I still think Dak Faden's power level is on par with the most powerful planeswalkers.
Sure. I think, like, he's seen vintage play, obviously, right? And obviously he's, like, one of the most fun things in Cube. He's really good in Commander. I think his biggest limitation is he's not, like, legal in any format, and he's not really legacy, like, a legacy powerhouse. I think he got done dirty. I think the fact that his character died in a book that was relatively not loved off screen and or in the trailer for the set, but then was not in the actual set War of the Spark.
What?
Yeah. Sorry, spoilers. Dak Faden is dead.
When did he die?
In War of the Spark. He's one of the, like, 3 named characters to die. He's the only one of them that didn't get a card. So him, spoilers again, Domri Raid, and Gideon.
Okay, Gideon gets... Right.
Well, Gideon sacrifices himself,
and that's in the trailer.
That's he like
trailer.
saves Liliana because he doesn't sacrifice himself in the trailer, right? He like right after the trailer is when he like grabs Liliana, takes the curse that was going to kill her onto himself, and then dies.
Wait, but how does Dak die? Who kills him?
Just a random. It's in the trailer. It's a random like a random Eternal. Eternal like grabs him by the back and like steals his spark, and he just dies.
That sucks.
Yeah, like off camera, didn't get a card. It's like one of the big justice for Dak. I would love for him just to get like a card in like maybe a Commander product or something like that, where we get something for him. Not even on card do we see. It's in the trailer and in the book, but that's the only 2 places you see him die.
Well, I'm a big fan of Dak Faden. I think double looting is one of the most fun things you can do consistently. Like a card that allows you to loot 2 extra cards every turn. Who doesn't love to see more cards? And the fact that he doesn't have an oppressive ability, like stealing an artifact is a great thing to do, obviously. But if they don't have an artifact, then all he is a double looter, because his ultimate is pretty much useless.
Right.
So, but just having a 3-mana thing that double looted, I think I've said to somebody before, if his only ability as a planeswalker is that he was a 3-mana planeswalker that had the double loot ability with the same loyalty, there was no steal an artifact, and there was no ultimate, I think he's still playable in most fun formats. He's playable for me in Highlander still, because like that's a really good thing.
Yeah. My pick is a big Rhino.
Siege Rhino?
Siege Rhino.
Sage Rhino.
Thank you very much.
I considered it. I didn't even write it down on the list of potentials.
Oh, that would be a cool merchandising idea, actually. What if we did like tokens, but it's all cards that I say wrong?
Okay.
Chat and/or comments. Let us know if you'd be interested in a series of tokens of like we get someone like art of like a Sage Rhino, like it's a rhino casting like a spell.
Just super inside joke.
And then like a Noggle that has like hexproof.
Dig Through Time is the same set as Cruise, right? They came out the same.
Yeah, they was both the same set.
So the options that I wrote down for this were Dak Faden, both of the 2 Delve spells, Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time. Eidolon of Great Revel, Monastery Swiftspear, and Mana Confluence, plus Siege Rhino. Those are the ones that I like looked at that felt like they were, at least in contention. On the whole, pretty weak year. I mean, obviously the 2 big spells are massive. Like Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time are so epically high compared to like Monastery Swiftspear. Like that's,
I don't know if that's true. I mean, Monastery Swiftspear was like one of the most casted cards of 2019.
No, it's a very impactful card. I just mean like in terms of power level, I think considering like Mana Confluence and Eidolon of Great Revel, like these are the runner-ups in years where like runner-ups have been like 3-Minute Teferi is like 5th this year. Like that's like it's just a weak year compared to some other years. There are weaker years, don't get me wrong. Definitely weaker years.
Well,
but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, wait. It wasn't Return to Ravnica, wasn't that? Mana Confluence wasn't that? Wait, when was
Theros?
Theros block. So the last 2 sets of Theros blocks are kind of what's competing here. But Khan's block by itself, like you have what's the Mantis Rider, who's like, well, but in Pioneer it's a staple, right? In Humans it's been seeing play since the very beginning of the Humans deck. You have like Rhino, Treasure Cruise. I think the fetch lands obviously reprinted that year, but like were added to the format. Like I think
Magic was good that year. I'm saying in terms of new cards compared to other years, I think the clear answer here, no question, is Treasure Cruise.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it broke Magic. It was banned in every format.
And I think it's amazing that it's still legal in Pioneer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible.
It's partially because no fetch lands, right? Like, that's, like, not having access to fetch lands or Thought Scour makes it just under the radar, I think. I think in the long run, it will be banned. Like, there's going to be eventually enough things that self-mill that it'll become too powerful. But the fact that there currently just isn't fetch lands. Like once you leave Pioneer, every format has fetch lands, right?
Yeah.
So it's like too powerful for there. It was fine in Standard, right? Like it was just a fine, good card
Yeah.
draw spell.
Yeah.
That's what it was tested for. And Pioneer's power level hasn't tipped over the scale. Right, it's kind of the line of where is Thopter good, right? The same kind of deal.
Yeah,
Thopter was too good still in
Support
Pioneer
cards.
because it's too good in formats without enough cards, where Treasure Cruise is only too good in formats with enough cards.
Yeah. Okay. So the best card of the year is clearly Treasure Cruise, right? That's no question. I think we both.
Now, in your defense, people are clamoring in the chat for Dak Faden to be printed in Modern Horizons too.
I love Dak Faden.
Just like instead of getting a new card for him, maybe just like let him be a Modern staple.
I don't think he's too good for Modern at all compared to the other stuff that's legal in Modern.
I don't.
I mean, him coming down and stealing an artifact is great.
Yeah.
I'm totally into like. But funny that the most hilarious part about that is stealing your ensnaring bridge is not actually helpful if I need to get rid of it.
Yes. Well, I don't know if Snaring Bridge is like the artifact that I need to get rid of.
I'm just trying to think of like the problem artificts in Modern historically that come down where you're like, I can't interact with this. I'm going to
Sure.
lose. And like
He does nothing for it.
He like steals it. So 2013, I think, is the worst year. This was the year that I sent you the list that I was like, I can't believe how bad these cards are. This is I was like, this is amazing. So 2013, here are the options that I texted you. And we're going to say our favorites as well. Nykthos, Young Pyromancer, Voice of Resurgence, Anger of the Gods, True Name Nemesis. That's the whole list. And there wasn't even like fringe 3 cards I cut. That was like, I like really put in all the ones that felt like they were significant.
My favorite card is not on your list.
What's your favorite card of the year?
Boris Reckoner.
Oh, I love Reckoner.
I know, right?
It's not that powerful.
No, it's not good enough for Modern. It's in Pioneer. Like it's not probably good enough for Pioneer either. I love that card. I love that effect. I like one of my favorite memories of the card is I had a cube that like I didn't realize it at the time, but I ended up putting a bunch of like damage redirect creatures into red white accidentally, and it was like this really sweet deck where like there's the 4-mana legend that like all damage is prevented to him, so you can like move damage to him. There's the end cores have that like 0 prevented damage, do it to something else ability. So I was just like going off and like moving damage around, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool mechanic, to the extent that I literally built a commander deck that was just based on Boros Reckoner effects and Blasphemous Axe, and just like how much damage can I do to my own creatures and then redirect that damage to my opponent's faces.
So I remember this card was in the Pro Tour deck that year. I remember there was like a Charms deck. It was called Lucky Charms, I think, and they played like Azorius Charm and Boros Charm and this card, and there was like an infinite combo you could do, I think, where
if you can give Boros Reckoner indestructible, you can, and lifelink are the two main things that if you can do. What you can do with you can make him indestructible with Boros Charm, so you can start looping the damage on him, and if he has lifelink, you get infinite life. And I think in the set there was the ability to kind of combo those two things.
I remember it was played like Tom Martell and those guys I think were playing the deck.
Right.
I seem to remember. And but the funniest part is I always have had like in my mind a pretty high estimation of this card's power level. So twice now in cube drafts, or not cube drafts, in chaos drafts that we've done at these tournaments, I've opened Boros Reckoner. Once was a foil, and I opened a foil Boros Reckoner in my pack, and I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And I looked up and it was like $2.17. I was like, wow. How the mighty have fallen.
So, ironically, the first experience I had with Boros Reckoner was I opened a foil at the pre-release, and I was like, "Oh, this card!" Like, I didn't like understand that this card was already being talked about as a powerful card, and it was like just before people started just like looking up every single card they got before they traded anything. And a friend of mine, Chris Hare, opened up a foil Borregamos, and I was like so stoked to make a Borregamos commander deck, and so I just like snap traded it to him. It was like, oh, this card's dumb, and like I'll take that. I look it up later, it was like $30 for the foil one, and foil Borregamos was like $4.
It was
and
like
I was
$4. But like the funny part is the foil Borregamos is probably worth more now, I would think.
I think it is.
I would have to think so.
Yeah, long run I won, Chris. Take that. But the other main thing was Harvest Pyre. That was the big thing it was doing, where there's a red Harvest Pyre is a red sorcery, I believe, for one red and one colorless.
Instant, I think
maybe it's an instant, where you basically can exile cards from your graveyard, and it does that much damage to target creature. And if you target Boros Reckoner, you could dome someone for 20 if you could get 20 cards in your graveyard.
The other thing you could do is Blasphemous Act. That was the other.
That's like the commander play, right? That's always really good. What's your favorite card from 2013?
My favorite card from 2013. Sorry, I just am reloading the list here. My favorite card from 2013 is Young Pyromancer. It was kind of a loose favorite card from that year because I haven't played that many Young Pyromancers in my life, but I've played enough. And there are few things that I get more pleasure out of in Magic history than when I'm able to play like a 2-drop thing that then allows me to like play a bunch of cheap things after and get value.
Sure.
Whether it's drawing cards, whether it's like bouncing things, whether it's making tokens, it's putting like that is like my favorite thing to do.
Right.
Like cost reducers, anything that I can put down for 2 that makes my turn 3 like a big turn is my favorite. And that's what this card is. That's the the patron saint of that effect.
And the best card.
Of the year. It's kind of a weird one, but I think we're both in agreement. True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
It's just a uniquely, stupidly powerful card.
Yeah, the biggest issue I had when you picked it and like brought it up and gave me the other options was that this card sucks.
Yeah.
It not in like how good it is, but in that it exists. Like I think since I began playing Magic, of all of the cards that I think was the biggest mistake to print, True Name Nemesis is like very high on my list. I don't think like Delve I think was a better mechanic. I think Dredge is a better thing to exist in Magic. I think like all the other things create such good and interesting gameplay, and just a 3/1 that you can't deal with, you'll die because it exists, and was printed in a commander set in a weird way that warped that commander set, I think was just a net negative in general.
I think that the biggest problem with this card is that it's blue. If they had just made this card like black or like
white
or green or something,
or white,
and then
like
you're playing
protection color.
Yeah, and then you're playing it in a deck where like you probably don't have counterspell mana open the turn after you play it.
Right. So, or you can't discard it to force if someone's storming off on turn 2 and you need
It's just like one of those things where I play this in a deck that has all free counterspells in Highlander, and if I resolve this card and I have like Force of Will in hand or any of those cards, your one shot that you might maybe just possibly win the game if you happen to have a Wrath or the right Liliana, I'm going to counter it and you're going to lose. Right. Unless you could race me. But like 3 for 3, pretty good power to cost. Like
it takes 7 turns to kill you with it, but that doesn't count all the other damage that's being done. I think it's like it's just so interactive. It was put in blue for some reason. Like
who designed it? Do you think? I wonder if Gavin designed this card.
I don't know.
He might not
it was
have
the
been
commander
there
teams. No, he was there. Gavin was there already. Gavin was there before Modern existed.
When Modern came out, it's like when they hired him, right? It's like right around
in between, around that time.
So he's been there for years. All right, so that's 2013. So now we start to get into pretty good years here. The last 3 years, 2012, 2011, 2010, those are all big time years. So 2012, my favorite card of the year is, this is going to be funny because you were surprised when I texted you this. I chose Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, I thought you didn't like that card, and I realized maybe it was just me projecting on you, because I don't like that card.
Why don't you like it?
Because it makes my graveyard deck sad.
I am obsessed with that card. That card to me, I've said this before, but like, when I look at a Magic card, there's like a number of things, like boxes I check, right?
Right.
Okay, like things I look for on a card that will like light my eyes up. Number 1, does it draw me a card? That's like real high on the list. Number 2, does it cost 2 mana or less? Number 3, does it have multicolor? Number 3 plus, is it hybrid colors possibly?
Sure.
Number 4, if it's a creature or planeswalker, does it have 3 or more abilities?
Right.
Like the more complicated, the more like utilitarian, the cheaper, the more colors I can play it in. This card does everything except for drawing me cards. It does all of them.
It kind of draws you cards.
Against
totally. Life, does some damage.
It accelerates you, does damage, removes
early,
graveyards.
It's good late. It's banned in most formats.
I can play this in a black deck or a green deck. I love this card. I'm like obsessed with this card. And you don't remember that I was playing a blue-black legacy deck back then, and I made it bug so that I could play this card in it?
No, but now I've been being reminded.
I just bought 4 of them and was like, I just need to play this card. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Death
better. Hedron Crab.
No. Now, what's your favorite card of the year?
I believe 2012. It flies, it blinks, but not itself. Restoration Angel.
Oh, interesting.
I've probably cast Restoration Angel more than most cards in Magic.
I would have put you on Lingering Souls.
It was close. There's a lot of good cards. I love 2012. Lingering Souls was on my list. But just like the amount of times I've tried making Restoration Angel work versus the amount of times Lingering Souls has like made work is just not comparable. It's got to be one of my. Both of them are on my list of favorite cards. But
which do you take higher in a cube?
Restoration Angel. It's white. It's mono white. So you like are
Easier
in
play?
Yeah, like getting being in black white for sure is hard to guarantee. And
Yeah, it's fair.
And Restoration Angel is just like always going to be good. Like Bread, get the flying 3/4 that
Yeah,
like isn't
it's fair.
hard
And
to deal with.
it also like blinks the creature when they try to kill it. It's like a 2
it's a
for
flash
1.
flying 3/4 that draws you a card.
Yeah. I think the thing about Lingering Souls that I've always been the most impressed by is that for whatever reason, it seems like in Limited, you can just win the game off of Lingering Souls.
Sure.
Like, it's like a bizarre experience when you just like cast it and then the next turn flash it back and then you just start attacking and you look back in 3 turns and if they haven't answered it, you just win.
Sure.
That always like blows me away. But yeah, it's I mean the options here for this year that were close, and they are close. And this is one of the ones that live on air you guys are going to see us discuss right now because I think it's debatable, but I think we're still correct. I wrote down Deathrite Shaman, Abrupt Decay, Cyclonic Rift, Supreme Verdict, Lingering Souls, Gristlebrand. The card I forgot to write down from this year is Faithless Looting.
Sure.
So in the end, my choice is still Deathrite Shaman.
Biased.
The runner-up was Cyclonic Rift for me. But I actually think that Faithless Looting is almost just the choice. It's so close. It's better than Rift. I think it's almost as good as Deathrite.
Better than Deathrite Shaman. I think it's Faithless Looting.
You think Looting's the number one card?
I think Looting is the number one card. It took longer for it to be banned, but partially because it was like a positive engine card in the formats that it was in.
Right.
And it just like immediately saw play in a ton of decks in every format and like was already powerful. Like it sees play in Storm, it sees play in Dredge, it saw play in just like Arclight Phoenix decks, like as a value engine. Like Deathrite Shaman, it's close, and like I could see me being wrong, and maybe chat disagrees, but yeah, I'm like leaning towards Faithless Looting. The fact that it's now banned in Modern now makes it so like they're both banned, so that's not a thing that it has above anyone.
It's right on the edge. It does, but it feels like they won't print a card like Deathrite Shaman again, and they will print a card like Faithless Looting again.
I don't know if that's true.
Really?
I think like they've been kicked in the butt so hard this year with 1-mana cantrips that do something good, that like maybe they'll put in like 3-mana Faithless Looting, right? Like or like a Dak Fade-In card can exist.
Well, I mean, they printed the Adventure Creature this year, literally. It's just 1-mana discard draw.
Yeah.
You know, like that card's not good enough, but it's close.
Right, it's close. I can see there being comparable effects, but I don't think there'll ever be a card as good as Faithless Looting. And there's going to be more, like they printed Goose, right, this year. Like there's going to be other variants on
that's fair.
Green. Like the black side of it, maybe not, but there's going to be other good Birds of Paradise variants that get printed.
You can play it in a mono black deck. It's a Bird of Paradise.
Right.
Like, it's a real thing you could do. That's so ludicrous.
And a mistake.
So that's 2012. I think it's as you get back to these early years, right around the turn of the century or the turn of the decade. This is where you get into the power level that was coming off of, the M10 sort of this is like a little bit of the reinvention time. They New World Order, the simplifying commons. That's like around 2009-10 that happens.
No, 2009.
Yeah.
So New World Order started with M10 and went into Zendikar. Technically, they like in the middle of designing Shards of Alara block in 2008 when it was released. At least they started implementing New World Order, but it was like same as like other times they've done a big change on how they do things. It's in the middle of a set being made. Like kind of Battle for Zendikar was the first time they like decided we're not going to do 3 set blocks anymore.
Yeah.
That's why like there was going to be a third set. Emrakul was going to show up, but they like got rid of it, so it felt like weirdly stalled by the second set. Same deal. So New World Order started really officially with M10.
Yeah, and you can start to feel it around the time Innistrad is printed, where you start to look and notice that the power level of the premier cards is really high at a low cost. A lot of the stuff in the Alara block was like, if this creature has 5 power or more, this thing happens. Big dragon, big beast, like lots of cool play with multicolor. Or you go back to like Mooring Tide and Lorwyn.
That's the block with like Bloodbraid Elf and Path to Exile and Noble Hierarch.
Good cards, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying, like, I definitely think that as you move into 2011, 2012, and it's evidenced here by the top cards, because 2011 is bananas. I mean, 2011 is another huge year. My favorite card of the year, and I'm shocked if it's not your favorite card of the year.
It's not.
Really? Mm-hmm. You didn't go with the same one. Mm-mm. You literally just said all you do is Snapcaster Mage.
I know.
And Snapcaster Mage is not your favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. this card's more of my favorite
But you
card.
also like putting things in your graveyard.
I do like putting things in my graveyard.
It's Lily, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You went Lily of the Veil.
So Liliana of the Veil is my favorite card of the year. It's hard, like, because New Phyrexia's this year. Birthing Pod was printed in 2012.
Yeah.
And, like, not picking Birthing Pod felt weird, but
No. It's 2011. Pod was printed in 2011.
Or we're in 2011, though.
Yeah.
That's right. The same year that Liliana of the Veil was printed, but Birthing Pod was printed. I don't know what years are. I don't even know what words are. So, like, best finish in Magic in general have all been off the back of Liliana of the Veil, either in Jund or in Mono Black Pox and Legacy. I like put this card everywhere I can. Like the ability to like just kind of resource out your opponent and discard cards and remove threats that are problematic is like so powerful. And like I honestly think she was the best Planeswalker ever printed up until this year. Like I think I like could argue that she was more powerful than Jace if I like was put my feet to the fire.
Jace's age was like so exposed this year that looking back, it's retroactively easier to be like, yo, she was better than him the whole time,
right?
Because like we were unwilling to challenge the idea.
Well, and like obviously Jace is blue, so in Legacy, Force of Will exists, but Legacy, like Liliana saw play partially because like. You can Dark Ritual her into play on turn 1, which is one of the most insane things I've ever done. And like has seen just significant play in Legacy, almost as much play as Jace has. The biggest difference is that Jace can be discarded the Force of Will, right? But that's more the power level of Force of Will than necessarily Jace, right? Like any blue card is 5% better because Jace can be discarded the Force of Will.
What I think is really funny about this year, if you compare the two cards, because it's a pretty good argument, Liliana and Snap. The fact that those are mythics in the same set is pretty bonkers.
Right.
It's really funny.
Well, and that set has like has Gavany Township, has Geist St. Traft. It has like this year, and that's just Innistrad. Then you go to Scars of Mirrodin block, the second two sets in that block, where you have all of the good infect creatures, right?
You have Tezzeret, Agent of Bolus in there.
Tezzeret, Agent of Bolus is in there.
You have Feast of Famine in there. Batterskull's in there.
And New Phyrexian, I think, has been often one of the sets that we've talked about on this podcast over the years as top 5 most powerful sets ever printed.
And none
Gitaxian
of the cards.
Probe.
Well, I was just gonna say, other than Probe, every card we just named wasn't even in consideration. The considerations for the best cards in that year, I wrote down: Snapcaster, Lily, Gitaxian Probe, Scavenging Ooze, Elishnorn.
Mental Misstep is a card that
it just didn't exist for very long. So
I think the argument against Mental Misstep is that its power level is more in its toxicity. Like it's not that it's that powerful; it's that it makes formats bad by existing because it becomes a Mental Misstep counter game.
It's like never really like I can't think of a lot of games other than that standard format that I even played Mental Misstep.
Karn was this year too.
Yeah.
Chat. Rest in peace.
Yeah, it was monster.
Restless in peace, please rest in peace.
So 2011 was a big year. I think if you compare those Snapcaster and Liliana, what makes me laugh about it is, so Liliana, anytime I've ever cast that card, is a great card. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Having an edict and being able to consistently discard cards, super good. But to get value out of the things that you're discarding on your end, obviously making them discards is probably good for you. But to get value, you have to have a deck that's built on sort of the incidental value of your graveyard. You're either taking advantage of a synergy or just things that like you're getting at least a half a card out of it being in your graveyard at some point. So you're just getting lots of value out of discarding things, right?
I disagree, but sure, continue.
I think it's one of the things that makes it the best. You're not going to be able to discard Counterspell and just cast Counterspell out of your graveyard for blue because that would be way too good.
Sure, but like Jund doesn't play any flashback spells, right? Like the reason it's good in Jund is because you get to do it after you draw a card. You get to choose when it happens during your hand effects, and also like the deck is made with a bunch of haymakers, right? It plays a bunch of cards that if you draw top deck this, it's good, versus control decks where you want to have a hand on your opponent's turn, which is why Liliana of the Veil and Snapcaster Mage have never really been the best friends, right? Because Snapcaster Mage wants to be in your hand, and Liliana of the Veil wants you to be able to play without one.
Which is that this is my point. You're making my point for me, which is that when I think about the style of play, which is like haymakers, big expensive things, tapping out, refilling your hand, that's exactly the opposite of what I want to do.
Sure.
I want to be reactive. I want everything that costs 1. I want to have a full hand. I want to have all the options. I want Snapcaster Mage in my hand the whole game. And when I finally play it, I have 13 different spells in my graveyard, and I'm thinking about, because I cast them all already, I'll do this one this time. Like, that's my style of Magic. I get more confused by and don't know how to play effectively as well when it's the other style. Because it feels like I don't have as much control over it. Even though I think they're equally powerful, I just don't really know how to play it as well when I'm like discarding things that I want to use.
Your thought sees them.
Yeah.
Then you cast Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, I know how it works.
Then you cast Liliana. You each discard. You make them sack a creature.
Yeah.
And then you cast Bloodbraid Elf.
Get it all back.
Get a free card.
But I think the best card of the year, this is a tough year, because I think you could make strong arguments for a lot of these cards. I think it is Snapcaster Mage. It's been such an effective
What's
card.
your favorite card, right? You didn't say that was your favorite?
No, I did. Snap's my favorite.
Snap's your favorite. Okay.
Yeah, Lily's yours.
And I also think Snapcaster Mage is the best card of this year.
Yeah,
I think
really close.
we're going to, in the next conversation, talk about another card that I would make an argument is the best creature ever printed, or that year had multiple creatures that are the best creatures ever printed, but I do think Snapcaster Mage is that.
Yeah.
It's really good. It was between the two. It is hard. I went with the card that I think I've had more success with and does something different than every other card I picked on my list. But I do love both.
I think in a lot of years, Gitaxian Probe is just the best card. Like, I would say half the years on our list, Gitaxian Probe just is better than that card. But like Snap and Lily are so powerful that. So we get into 2010, which
I think Birthing Pod is better than a lot of the cards that were on years before. I think in some ways what's the pump spell? Phyrexian pump spell?
Yeah, Mutagenic Growth.
Mutagenic Growth is better than some of the cards we picked earlier in this episode.
I mean, the Phyrexian mana spells in general. I mean, Surgical Extraction, Noxious Revival, they're all valuable.
Yeah.
You get a lot of value out of all those cards. So 2010 is one of the hardest, if not the hardest year.
Think about before this year, between 2011 and 2012, or 2010 and 2011, the three best Planeswalkers ever printed were printed, right? Like Karn, Liliana, and Jace the Mind Sculptor were within that 365-day period.
Yeah.
Or I think technically it's 400-day period.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
or whatever. And Karn's not on, Karn barely made your list of cards to be in consideration. Yeah. And so that's insane. And now we get into 2010.
So 2010 is what it was the conversation started with this year. And this is when I texted this to Alex, and I was thinking as I was texting him, it can't be this hard every year. There's no way that the conversation could be this difficult every single year, but maybe it is. And I was right. This is the hardest year because 2011 is pretty close. Mm-hmm. But so you start with 2010. What is your favorite card of the year?
My favorite card of 2010? This was hard. I love a lot of these cards, but I think it's Stoneforge Mystic. I mean, I think that, I put that card in decks it doesn't deserve to be in. I, love that card. I was so excited when it was unbanned in Modern. It in Standard at the time was the card I played the most, even without owning Jace's. I was playing green-white, Stoneforge Mystic-based kind of decks with that and Fauna Shaman.
This is probably the year you and I met, I would think. We might have met in 2011.
We met at the not Avacyn. We met at the Rise of Eldrazi pre-release, so it was...
No, that's not true. I was there. That's where I met Eric. I didn't meet you the same day.
I think you did.
No. I met you at All-Star. I met you at All-Star.
Weren't you at Rise of Eldrazi release at All-Star cards?
That wasn't... They didn't do them at stores back then. Rise of Eldrazi pre-release was at the Radisson.
They did do them at stores, but that's fine. They also did it at the Radisson. Okay.
I don't think so.
It was that era, though. That's around when we met.
They didn't get the product yet.
They did.
I guarantee you're wrong. You're thinking about a different year. No.
They did pre-releases at stores and in big events. They did both.
I don't think you're right.
I am absolutely right. I did the pre-release at Zendikar. I did the pre-release for Worldwake, and I did the pre-release at Rise in All-Star cards.
Officially?
Officially.
With the
previous... with the packs and everything.
Huh. All right. I met you around that time, though.
They got rid of the big events because they were competing with local game stores.
Yeah. So, my favorite card from this year is Grand Architect. It was funny to me as I was looking through this. I was like, probably the least powerful card on my entire list of 10 is the most powerful year. I just don't think it's realistic for me to actually claim that any card in 2010 meant more to me than that card. I played it in Standard. Mm-hmm. I remember 10 years ago now, guys. It is 10 years ago now. I remember flying to Louisville, Kentucky. Remember the company Zappos? They're still around, right?
Yeah,
Zappos.com.
The shoe store.
So I used to model for Zappos. I would fly out and stay in a little gated community for a week, and you'd go to their warehouse and shoot a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And I remember flying out. I had my guitar, a duffel bag, and some Magic decks. And I remember going to a local game store at the end of the day shooting with all these Zoolander models, and I went over to the local store to play Standard. I played Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, Infect, Grand Architect Standard, and I was so pleased that I could find a Magic store because that was all I wanted to do. That's just a funny memory for me, but I definitely remember playing Grand Architect there and in PTQs back in LA and just loving it so much. And that and Agent of Bolas both are two of my favorite cards ever.
Yeah.
I almost wish that Agent of Bolas could have made it as my favorite card of that year, but I don't think it was realistic. So
fair.
Snapcaster Mage is just sweeter.
Yeah.
So yeah, Grand Architect is my favorite. So now the conversation of best.
So we did a poll on this. So there's 5 cards in contention. 4 of them we were discussing pretty heavily, and then obviously Instagram brought up the last one. But actual best card made in 2010.
So the ones that were not on the poll
Sure.
are contenders that didn't make it were Celestial Colonnade and Splinter Twin. And I think they're both amazing cards. And again, in a lot of years, the best.
Well, and I think a card that also did such an Emrakul, like that's
Yeah.
obviously,
Yep.
and it's more of just a card that says I win on it that they printed, that different ways that are actually the powerful things cheat into play. The chat, what was reminded us, Preordain is a card from this year. It was printed
Yeah.
originally in M11,
Yeah.
I believe. I think it might be M10, which means it was 2009. That's why I don't think we included it. Maybe
I think it was M11. I just think it's not as good as these cards.
because Scry was the M11 mechanic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. So like these are the kind of cards that we're competing with. But Stoneforge Mystic, which got 5% of the vote, Primeval Titan, which got 26% of the vote, Jace the Mind Sculptor, which got 28% of the vote, and Mox Opal, which got 41% of the vote.
How does Mox Opal? I mean, that's just our audience is a modern audience. That's got to be why. Because
I don't know. Obviously, I think so. My argument was Primeval Titan, right? I honestly think that Primeval Titan is in contention for the best creature ever printed. It's banned in Commander. More like not. Mox Opal, to be honest, is the other card that maybe talk about this, but between Primeval Titan and Mox Opal, they kind of are half the ban list of Modern.
yeah,
And like it has always just been a deck. It's always been at least 2 decks kind of in the format. It's always doing powerful things. And as more lands get printed, the better it gets. Mox Opal obviously is a card that has just defined so many archetypes between affinity, like. What artifact deck is good has always changed. Right now it's Urza.
Yeah.
2 years ago it was Lantern Control.
Hardened Scales, Affinity.
A year ago it was KCI. 4 years ago it was Affinity. Like there's always been a artifact deck that was just too good. That's why Mox Opal is on people's list of like most likely card to eventually be banned.
Yeah.
Since Modern existed. It's dodged it left and right. The fact that Faithless Looting got banned before Mox Opal surprised me, at least. I lost $2 because of it. But I think that Mox Opal just has this defining feature of Modern and has always been one of the most powerful things you could be doing in the format. And
Yeah, I was going to say, are you finished?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think if you look at each of the 4 cards, they're 4 very distinctive cards for all very, very iconic reasons, right? Like, so Stoneforge Mystic is the white 2-drop. It's that we got the blue one the next year in Snapcaster Mage, 2010, we got the white 2-drop. And it's a really, really good card that was banned for a long time, made an impact. Mox Opal, strangely enough, has been format defining in Modern since Modern started as a 4-of, where a playset's about $400 to $500 for a decade. And somehow, through reprintings, has managed to not go down in price and not get banned. I don't really understand how it's possible, but it is like one of the premier engine cards.
And played in Legacy, played in Vintage, played in Commander, played in Standard.
Kind of the fairest Mox ever printed. In the sense,
Fairest good Mox.
Yes.
Like Mox Amber exists, right? And Mox, whatever the Suspend Mox
yeah,
exists.
Tantalite. Those are cards are bad. Now you look at the big 2 for me, the considerations, which are Primeval Titan. Excuse me. Primeval Titan and Jace the Mind Sculptor. And where I agree with you that I think Primeval Titan might be the best creature ever printed, Primeval Titan is a card that fits into decks that want to take advantage of lands. It's a 6-drop green. It's like you're centering the idea of the deck around, I'm going to cast Primeval Titan and win. Jace the Mind Sculptor defined the concept of a powerful planeswalker in our minds for half the decade. And honestly, it's only now that they have pushed the card type so far beyond the pale that we're even acknowledging that, like, okay, it's probably maybe the 9th best planeswalker or the 7th.
I think it's still in the top 5. I think it's definitely in the top 7.
But what blue deck in history, unless it's mono blue aggro, would you not just want to have Jace in the deck ever? It's such a good card.
In Legacy, Delver decks don't play Jace.
Sideboard
I've never played.
Sideboard they do.
Maybe, and that's more at a spice. Those decks were much more about. They don't get the 4 mana, right?
Right.
They're wastelanding you out every turn they can while they have a Delver Secrets in play.
So my argument is that I think Planeswalker is one of the most significant additions to the game of Magic. ever in its history. And this is the most definitive Planeswalker ever made. And I think it's hard for me to really say that Primeval Titan is a better card just in a vacuum. It's close. And it doesn't feel like it's as much of like, this card makes lots of decks possible in the way that Mox Opal does. It's like Jace is iconic. He's like the iconic character, and this was his best version.
Sure.
So to me, it's Jace, but it's pretty close.
I think it's Mox Opal. Like, and this is like we don't have an agreement on this one. So like, I like lean more and more with the chat. Like once they like kind of vote, not chat, but to Twitter, where like, in chat, we'd love to hear what you guys think. The fact that this has defined Modern more than Jace, like the fact that Jace got unbanned and was just kind of fine, right?
Yeah,
like, it was good. Like Blue White Control has been good since it's been unbanned, but it's never been like a powerhouse. And almost 5-mana Teferi and 3-mana Teferi have been more responsible with Blue White strength, and Jace is just a good card in that deck. Versus like these deck defining cards like Primeval Titan and Mox Opal makes me feel like Jace doesn't take the cake anymore, and like. The fact that 5-mana Teferi was, you said 5-mana Teferi is more powerful than Jace.
I
know. Is like pretty significant to me when there's not a card that's better than Primeval Titan in that class, right? Like, is there a better card than that in what it's doing?
No. And there won't be.
And there won't be. And like Mox Opal is kind of in a similar boat, right? Where like they'll print other Mox and because they can't help themselves, and eventually there'll be maybe another one that's as good. But the fact that it's just like has been this powerhouse. The fact that KCI got banned because of it, the fact that Lantern Control was a defining feature of Modern, the fact that these decks have been so powerful for so long makes me feel like Mox Opal not only is maybe the best card of this year, but like could be could be the best card in Modern.
Yeah, I think I think that if the conversation is, will Jace ever regain his prominence as the premier Planeswalker? No, he won't. He's been overtaken. The game has changed. He's showed his age. They will never print a more powerful land-driven haymaker creature than Primeval Titan ever, because how could they? How could you beat that unless you made it cost 5 or something?
You could do you could do it accidentally, right? You could do like a 3-mana, like literally half, like a 3-mana 3/3. When it enters play, it finds a land.
Yeah.
And when it attacks, it finds 1 land, right? They could literally just do baby Primeval Titan in like a Modern Horizon set. That's like the exact type of thing I could imagine them doing.
Yeah.
And like, is that better? Maybe, because it's down to
because
3.
you can win with a 6/6 trample.
Correct.
Because like most of the time, the lands are great; they're incidental. Often with Primeval Titan, you cast it, they can't answer a 6/6 trample, and you just win by attacking with a Titan.
Right.
That's why the Titans were so cool, and that's why it's so good. So
and Primeval Titan would be one of the like 4 creatures I would argue is the best creature ever printed, right? Like it's like Primeval Titan, Snapcaster Mage, Emrakul, which is also from this year, and we're not even really discussing it.
Yeah.
Like these are all cards that like define Magic and like define their colors and like are just like the best that are like they're never going to print something better than Snapcaster Mage.
yeah, it's pushed. It's
Like,
pretty pushed.
They're probably not, and if they would, it's going to be red, right? And same with Primeval Titan to me.
I love comparing this to the days of like a Royal Assassin.
Well, I asked what people think are like the best creatures of all time, and like Psychotog was on the list, and Aetherling were on the list, and like they were like not Aetherling, Morphling. Morphling was on the list, and like at the time they were the best creature ever printed.
Yeah.
What's the black green 6-drop? Spirit.
Black green 6-drop
from Masks.
No, it's not from Masks.
Oh, it's from that. It's
from Apocalypse, I think. Yeah, it's. I can't think of the name of it.
Help us out.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Spiritmonger. Like these are cards that at the time were considered the best creature ever printed, and
Jusum Jin.
None of them come close to some of these cards.
Close. Yeah,
like,
it's not even fair.
I don't think they'd make the list on any one of
these.
Read
the text of Questing Beast one time.
No, I would like to end my day.
Yeah.
And it would take all of my day to read that card.
I don't understand how like that card. It feels like they just stapled a bunch of abilities onto it.
That's what they did. Well, that's the flavor of Questing Beast, right? It's like it's an Arthurian legend creature that like it's a bunch of creatures stapled together.
Oh, okay,
it's like a bird, snake, lion, dog, wolf.
So it's supposed to feel silly and overwhelming.
Correct. It's supposed to be like how many different abilities, because it's like how many animals can we fit onto a creature?
Got it.
How many abilities can we fit on this creature?
That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap up our list of our top 10 favorite cards, each one from each year of the decade, as well as the best card of each year of the decade. Let us know in the comments below what you think. We are giving away these secret layers here very soon. We have a giveaway that we're running right now. So go and leave a comment below, subscribe, like, all the things on the video, as well as follow along on our Twitters and our Twitches.
And so, especially for people that are new or are interested to see more, there are a slew of different times and schedules when we release content. Every Monday, we release a hot take. It's generally a small, condensed thing from the episode or from a different video that we record, normally like controversial of opinion. Every Tuesday, normally at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be live streaming the podcast, similar format to what you just experienced. Every Thursday, we release the episode edited. So there's card art when we talk about cards. It kind of condenses everything, much more produced version of the episode. You don't have all the distracting chat stuff that's around us. And every Wednesday is when the audio feed. So if you're a subscriber on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get podcasts, the audio is released then. And then Ben and me are live streaming pretty regularly, at least once a week between the two of us. This is going to be a crazy month. It's the first month we're all back. So January is a big deal. There's going to be a bunch of new content. We're gonna have a bunch of guests this month, partially because me and Ben are both traveling around the world.
Announcements. We do have one major announcement.
We'll make that later, I think.
Yeah. So stay tuned for next
episode. Stay
episode.
tuned, big announcements. And that's everything for the episode. Thanks, guys. Everyone in the chat, you guys are awesome. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to comment. We love all of you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.